Hello followers and welcome back to MrMFretwell Plays Minecraft, and today's episode is a special episode, and that is for a number of reasons really. The first reason is we're going to be going on a world tour. The second reason is it's going to be the last episode in 1.6 and in this base, and the third reason is that this is going to be my 500th video. So we're going to be taking a bit of a talk around my sort of video making, how do I put it, my channel journey for the past year and a half, almost coming up to 2 years. We're also going to obviously take a look around the world for one last time now that everything is finished, and generally that's going to be the sort of the main emphasis of this episode. And next episode we will be upgrading to 1.7.2. It's been out for a while now, but I did want to finish all my projects in 1.6 because next episode is probably going to be one of the most exciting. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this sort of next couple of episodes. It's going to get really exciting. Moving into a new base, going far away in the Nether, and we're going to kind of kick things off here by taking a good look at this base and kind of enjoying the last moments that we have here. So if you want to start watching the series with this episode, you have come in at the right time, because I assure you, no matter where we end up spawning, probably next episode, it's going to be really exciting, so stay tuned for that. So I guess the first thing that we should do is probably take a look at the sort of first steps of this base. We're going to do the fort last, and the reason for that is because it was one of my later projects. So now then, I think I blocked the way off to my initial sort of starting area. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm using stone tools, it's just simply because I've repaired all my tools ready to move on out next episode, and I'm just relying on crappy things for the moment. So somewhere around here, I'm not entirely sure where, is actually my starting equipment. I've got my decent sword on me because there is mobs around here, I believe. It's somewhere around here. I think it's right here actually. It's right underneath where the fort stuff is. Yeah, here we go. So this is where it all began in, I believe, episode 6. I did spend a little bit of time on a different world. Didn't really like that world as much, so we moved to this one, and this was back in 1.5. We're now on 1.7. This was over 6 months now, so it's been quite a bit of time. Got the first workbench, furnace, and chest there with the first pickaxe. Oh my goodness, man, that's going back a ways now. And the great thing about moving around in your world is that maybe in a year or two, see what I mean? There's mobs around. In a year or two, maybe, or a couple of months' time, I can come back to this base when I just feel like having a bit of a nostalgia tour once again, and actually, oh boy, actually be able to revisit these things again. And that's why I don't typically like resetting the world. That's a better bow than that, so I'll use that. But in certain situations, it can be appropriate to reset the world. My LP, it probably won't have a world reset. I'll just keep moving unless there is some sort of bug in the game which corrupts my world by accident or something like that, which I'm really hoping doesn't happen. And even then, I'd probably just restore from a backup, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. So yeah, now took a look at that, I guess we should head back and start and talk about the cave base, because I mean, we did a couple of random things early on. We did get in an enchantment table, we set up some farms above ground, that kind of thing. But the base really took off when we worked on this sort of, not so much this area. I can't remember if I built the portal shrine first or if I worked down here first. Now, there used to be torches down here, so I can't remember off the top of my head. But if we're going to do this in some sort of methodical order, then we'll talk about the shrine first. So the shrine, I know for a fact, was one of the first projects I ever did on my world. And I wanted to create something significant for the Nether, and we actually ended up, for our 25th episode, we did an hour special in the Nether, which was pretty cool. I built this mainly because it kind of suited it, and the Nether portal I didn't necessarily want to be away from everything else. In hindsight, it would have been better if it was in a more convenient location. But this area kind of suited it. I foresaw having a lake in here, and there was that cave there that I could put a waterfall in. And I blew this out with TNT and kind of made a little shrine that's overgrown here, and added that tree, which I thought was pretty cool. And that's all I can say as regards the shrine. There's not too much to talk about with it. I did want to kind of have a special area for the portal, though, that was not really done before, I don't think. Certainly not that I know of. The skylight, not too much to talk about there. It's a bunch of glass that I put down just to have a bit of natural light going on. Well, we didn't work on that until later on. So now let's talk about this area. This area, the general cavern, was one of the other first projects I did, and there was this ravine right here, and there's lots of mine shaft in here initially. If you go back and take a look at my early videos, you will see that this place was just clogged with mine shafts, and I think there was actually a bunch of stone in this area that I carved out a long while ago. But this area, I wanted to have a central area where I could kind of access all the key points, and this room really this cave kind of made sense, and I sort of mapped it out in my head. I want the farming to be all in one area, and that turned out to be that area, and the tree farm there. The zombie spawner I was stuck with down there, so I just kind of built a room around that. We've got the sugarcane farm there. Farming was basically all of this wall. I guess you could count that as farming zombies for experience and flesh. And kind of there with the cave spider farm as well. It was sort of, this half was all dedicated to farming, and then this half was dedicated to storage. So we've got storage for all our ores, we've got storage for potions and ingredients, storage room down there, the incinerator. It's all item based stuff. Ooh, thundering out there. That's not good. I'm probably going to turn my sounds down just a little bit, because that can be a little irritating to try and think with that thunder. So one of the first things that we did do was, after we kind of built the central cavern area, was build the furnace room. That was the basic aim I had with doing this video. Well, not this video, but oh, hey Enderman, get distracted easily. The basic idea with this cavern was to have everything in a universally accessible location. He didn't go down easy. And kind of separate areas out into similar categories. The jukebox is kind of a bit of an oddity, really, along with the crafting area. But these were things that we use, well, maybe not so much a jukebox, but crafting I use a lot, and I needed a central area for it. And by the way, if you don't know what these are actually droppers that drop tools. So I pushed the button if I ever found that I needed a stone shovel, because my diamond one was all the way down, and I just needed something for like a quick little use. I would actually have that. And I never populated these with anything. Maybe I should have done, because I never actually ended up using it. But that was the idea with that anyway. So then we moved on to the furnace room. And the furnace room, if you want to take a look at the wiring, you just pop through here. And these are T-buds. I actually got this design from E0. I thought it was pretty cool. He used it in his furnace room. And I liked the lamp look. I didn't go with the note blocks in the end. There's not really enough room back here to do that kind of thing. But I wanted to create a nice clean furnace room. And at this time the clay had just come out, so I got funky with that. And I really liked the stone brick type look, and the iron bars and the black stained clay. Give it a very forged type look. Got the ender chest there, because you always need that. Typically I have ores in my ender chest. And everything, I mean, there's some things here that maybe I could have put somewhere else. For example, lapis and quartz emeralds, that kind of thing. But I put all the ores in my furnace room, as I need coal for furnaces. Smelt iron, you smelt gold. You don't really smelt any of these other things, but it just made sense at the time to put all of my ores kind of in one universal place. And I had an anvil here. This was my very first anvil. Didn't use it too much in the end, because I pretty quickly after that got a grinder going and a crafting table there. I have made some tools in here and done some repair though. Typically when I've been breaking down things like coal or redstone with my fortune pickaxe, I've managed to get a lot of XP that way, and it's just handy to have an anvil nearby. And pretty much after that, I think I worked on that, then I worked on the farming stuff. So we'll go take a look at the farms. The first thing that we built was this It's a wheat farm. And this wasn't very good initially. I did a lot of cleanup in here. And I've been using it regularly. I still use it. A lot of wheat and seeds in there. Use it to breed my cows, that kind of thing. It does need harvesting actually, but I'm not going to bother with that at this moment. So then we kind of built the cow farm, as I did need a good supply of food, and I didn't really have that. It was all up on the surface. So this made sense to bring a cow farm down here. I did want to bring animals underground and build underground farms. Pigs, I never really did use that much, but I did build a pig pen. I've got chickens here. I kind of liked the look that I had this small area and I didn't need a lot of room for chickens. So I just turned this area into a sort of glass window viewing area and put chickens in here who escape the pens because there's a bug in the game like always. So, and I got my hopes up too when 1.6.2 came out and they said, oh, they fixed the suffocation bug, we fixed the escaping bug. But nope, didn't happen. Should have known better. And we built this. This is a similar thing to my wheat farm. You just push the lever and you get your carrots and potatoes and then you replant. Nothing too special. Semi-automatic like always. Got lots of carrots. I did live off potatoes for a substantial period of time, but recently I moved to steak as I began to use my cow farm a little more. This was a recent addition, the cocoa bean farm. This was only a couple of episodes ago, and this was an old project of mine that I had planned, but I didn't really have a desire to have things like brown dye or cookies. But I did get around to it in the end, and I have used it a little bit since, but not really useful. It's just a standard, you know, break and get your cocoa beans replant situation. I could improve on that in a future base. I just kind of wanted to throw something together that would have some use. In here we have the sheep farm. This was again similar to the cow and pig farm in shape. Didn't have much of an overriding use for wool until the fort, so I didn't do too much with that. Down here is probably my favourite sort of farms. There was the melon and pumpkin farms, which you just kind of push the button and the pistons sort of push out and then you collect your melons and pumpkins. Again, this could be improved upon, but I just wanted something that worked for the time being. Maybe in our next base or a future base we'll probably look into building more redstone based contraptions. But I did build this just to get my melons and pumpkins rolling, and I have used this quite a bit because before potatoes I did live off melons for a few episodes, so that got a fair bit of use. And the cactus farm, similar sort of thing really. Right here I've got a lot of cactus squashed in here. Similar sort of design, it just raises pistons, and I've got a lot of cactus from that. Sort of raises these pistons in the middle, and all the cactuses around break. It's a pretty common design, I've seen a lot of people use it. But I did want to have a decent supply of cactus for green dye, so I did build a fairly large cactus farm. And that's kind of everything with the farm. Well, I guess not. There's still the sugarcane farm, the tree farm, the zombie grinder to talk about. So the sugarcane farm, there was this sort of room here that I just for some reason felt that it was appropriate to put sugarcane here. I don't entirely know why, but I built a kind of a high densely farmed sugarcane farm here. And I used a pattern with lily pads to get the maximum efficiency I could. And I do get around 4 stacks of this from this every time I harvest it, which is pretty good. I haven't used it too much because I don't make a lot of things like books or use paper a lot. But it has come in handy for making things like bookshelves for enchantment tables and that kind of thing, being as I've got the high density cow farm going on there as well. So it's been pretty handy. It was a good design. I think that next time I may build either a fully automatic one or at the very least a semi-automatic one, because while I do enjoy going shing and sharing it all down, it can become a pain when you put a load of things in a chest and then you find that you pick one bit up. And I'm one of those people who never throws anything away, so I have to put it back in the chest, and you can waste a little bit of time with that. So this is the tree farm, and the tree farm I could heavily improve. I kind of did a lot of this based on sort of own knowledge and that kind of thing of how trees worked, and I spent a great deal of time kind of trying to work out what how best to grow trees, and it didn't work out too well because, as you can see, you get stuck. And if I was to rebuild this again, I have another design that I've used on my tutorial world, and I know that some other people have used, which is a bit better, but that's an above ground design. For this I would just make the room taller. The disadvantage I had is I tried to put it in a spot where the shrine is actually right up above, just like 2 blocks up there. So I had to kind of work around that and cram everything in, and ultimately it didn't pay off. But I have used this substantially. Used this for a lot of wood for this base. So it did get a fair bit of usage, but I didn't like using it per se. It could be heavily improved upon. Now I know a lot more about sort of trees and farming and so forth. So down here is sort of an unused part of the base. This never even got any piston lighting. Hey buddy, thank you. Oh, thank you. So this area sort of hooked up to the zombie grinder. This is the only thing down here. There was a dirt block there, I think, and an Enderman took it. Big thanks to Brick, who toured my LP world and pointed that out to me. So yeah, in here, ooh, I'm glad I remembered that I had those in there. I'll probably wear those next episode. So this was my first ever sort of grinder and enchantment station in this world. And it's just a basic design. It holds the zombies back in the spawner room until I flick this. Then they flow down the tube, and you push this, and it's a very, very fast sort of lava dispenser, and it brings zombies down to 2 hits. I think, yeah, I put it so that they are brought down by half a heart, so that it brings them down to 1 hit if you include a 3-drop fall. And I didn't come up with this on my own. I actually saw a video by a guy who goes by the name of HFog in this 10-second mob softener, I think it was called, and I built that in there. I was pretty happy with the way this turned out. There used to be an enchantment table here, but that's since gone. Got a lot of zombie flesh because I did use it a lot, and I've kind of assembled armor and various different things in this chest. Got some nice enchanted books, and I got some decent loot off the zombies. I have worn it in the past when I've been low on armor. But I think if I was to build any sort of zombie grinder again, I would probably try and come up with a design on my own. And I think that now, I probably wouldn't use zombies. I would probably actually use something like cave spiders, or just build maybe a blaze farm, something along those lines, which is something that we may look at in the future, because that was good, but the disadvantage was that I had to punch all the zombies to death, and it used a lot of my hunger all the time. And to improve on that, I did have a cave spider spawner here that I built a cave spider trap with. And this was a suffocation based design that brought them down to 1 hit. And then you would flick this lever up, and then you could punch them. But spiders work a little differently. They use instant damage potions instead of instant health, and everything that you need for damage can be renewed. I think it's nether wart that you need spider eyes, which I have a spider spawner right there. Sugar, get from that big high capacity sugarcane farm I have. And I think there was something else that you need for a spider eye. Brown mushrooms, that was it. You need brown mushrooms, which I didn't get to build a mushroom farm, but I had kind of a little advantage with that, in the sense that I could grow giant mushrooms down here. I could plant them sort of near the edge of the ravine here, and it would be dark enough for them when I use bone meal on it to create a giant mushroom. So I got a decent amount of mushrooms that way, which kind of compensated for that. And that was a big improvement, but again, it involved a lot of waiting around, and it involved generally kind of having to go AFK for extended periods of time, typically longer than the zombie grinder, because cave spiders give less XP, I believe, than zombies. But it kind of made up for its speed in the sense that you could just toss a potion at them, and that was that. So down here we have the storage room, the incinerator. The incinerator is just a cactus, just in case I throw any items away, which I have never used that. And the gravel to flint room, and similarly I've never used this. I just had a bunch of extra room, and I thought, nah, well, we might as well. And that chest doesn't even have anything in it. The purpose of the room was to basically have enough room, I think, to get a stack of gravel in here, and you could just break it down with stone shovels to get flint, but I have enough flint anyway. I never needed it. So this area, well, this room got used a lot. I introduced this sort of lighting system, and this is not revolutionary or anything. I know that lots and lots of people have done this design. I just did a basic T flip-flop. I had it activates the lights, and they sort of turn on in chronological order. And get that back one there. Got a furnace, which I don't even think I've ever used this furnace, because I always use the furnace room. And a chest there, and a crafting table. And I've got all these different items, cobblestone and dirt, and all of these redstone-y bits, wool, quartz, etc. these were all blocks. This side was entirely blocks, but this side was more kind of items, so things like flint, feathers, mob drops, arrows, dye, saddles, that kind of thing. This was all items, and this was sort of blocks and things like that. So this design was a good design. I would probably use this style again, because it's, you know, I never even filled this. Look at all the double chests that I have that I never even filled. Though part of that was down to the fact that I believe in episode 39 my storage room actually got corrupted and I lost a bunch of stuff. Most notably, I lost a lot of my cobblestone, stone bricks, wood. Pretty much everything I believe up to this point I lost. This is the edge of a chunk right here, and equally on this side, so I lost all of my decent stuff. But yeah, this was a good design for a storage room. I would use it again. I was pretty happy with the way it turned out. Gave me lots of room. I believe that there are 10 rows of chests, 8 rows of chests. So there's 64 chests on each wall. So 64 double chests on each wall, which gave me plenty of room for everything that I needed. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's all I can say about the storage room, really. So then we kind of get into the later additions, and that was the brewing room, the map, the library, the snow golem, and the fort. So let's kind of kick things off with the map. We never talked about the jukebox, did we? Let's talk about that. Do I even have any records? I do. So the jukebox is a very, very basic thing. You just put it in, there's a comparator behind there, and it turns lights on, and they turn off when the record comes out again. So this is something that I built kind of for funsies, really. I just wanted a map of my area, and this will look a lot better in 1.7. We will take a look at this next episode before we head out, because I did put a lot of work into this, and we're going to be in the area anyway, so we will take a look at the map. But fun little project, mapped out a good portion, found the desert temple up there. To give you some idea, this is the fort right here. Kind of glad that it was right in the center of one map. I was pretty happy with that. We've got that village that was nearby, and the tundra biome over there. This was all the jungle and deserty area, and then that leads out into plains, and this side is more deserty and jungly before it breaks out into a swamp and then desert over that way. So that was that, and it was just kind of an on-the-fly thing that I really wanted to do. I did want to have a giant map of my world. So I did do that, and the ravine, actually, yes, just passing it, almost forgotten about the ravine. The ravine was again one of these projects I did for fun. I had this thing here for the longest time, as everything else kind of got finished around here, and this just looks awful. It had torches in it, and it was a place for mobs to spawn, and it generally looked pretty horrible, and I did want to do something with it, and in the end I came up with this idea of kind of making it vines grow all over it, all of that sort of stuff. Get some lily pads down there, make a little river, and sort of put in the mossy and cobblestone to break it up. I got rid of all the ores. This is probably the thing that took the longest amount of time, just based on the fact that it was extremely dull to actually do, but I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. There was a lot of work and effort going to this, and it is nice. I do think that it did break up the terrain a little bit in here. It gave you something interesting to look at instead of just like grass and lamps. There is actually something to look at. And I guess that takes us over to the bedroom. At this point, the bedroom is just a standard room. It's got your average bed in it, got some carpet, fairly standard room. I just needed a place for my bed, and I just made that little bedroom. Not a whole lot to talk about with that. The branch mines, this is just a pathway down to the branch mines. There's nothing too exciting down there, but I did dig quite an expansive branch mine, others have told me, from taking a look at my world. So that was sort of integral in getting the amount of diamonds that I have, because whenever I upload a video, typically, if I have nothing else to do, I will either hop on a server and play some PvP or something, or more often than not, I'll just go branch mining. And I'm often chatting with people and doing things like that as well, and it just helps to pass the time while doing that stuff. So that's kind of the story behind the branch mine. So down here we have the brewing room, and the brewing room was a bit of a sort of almost style change compared to the rest of the base. This room is rather unique in a sense that it uses a lot of quartz and clay. Got the brewing stands here. the nether wart farms, you just stand on the pressure plate and you collect the nether wart, which is pretty useful. Probably I would change that to iron pressure plates in the next version, as you can stand on it. But I don't know 100% how that would work based on the output power. But that's for another day. Down here I have room for all my ingredients, redstone, and all my potions. There was room here for expansion. These are all the potions that I could currently brew in the game. There is, I believe, yeah, water bottles. They're awkward potions. We've got strength, speed, night vision, invisibility. I think that's poison, no harming. Then we've got fire resistance, regen, instant health. That's poison. And this is invisibility. So, pretty cool overall. Got an ender chest here in case I went to the nether to get ingredients. Infinite water sources. And a crafting table and a furnace if I happen to need any of those things. And as I say, this is all my ingredients area. So that's kind of the brewing room in a nutshell, just a place to brew potions. I did like the whole idea of keeping it like a lab type look, very clean and smooth looking, compared to the rest of the base, which was more rustic looking. I would associate things like making chemicals and potions in a clean environment, and quartz and clay kind of reflects that, and I could probably improve it more with stained glass in the next update, but that's not going to happen. Are you going to come down here, buddy? Are you a zombie villager? The amount of time I spent looking for one. So that concludes pretty much everything. I wonder how his AI is going to behave. Yeah, there we go. Thought so. That kind of concludes everything for this portion of the base. There is just the library to take a look at, and the snow golem and the bridge, and that's about it. So, snow golem, just got a place to farm snow, pretty standard. And this is the library. This is another recent addition. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I wanted to give a nice rustic wood look to match the bookshelves. Got some nice hanging lights here. And a view over the base. I did want to carve this out because this area was hanging. And I thought that it would be nice to have a look out over the rest of the base. And it'll look even better too with the updated map. So I'm looking forward to seeing that before we go. And just a little reading area here if I want to choose a book, that kind of thing. Just a generally nice room. I was pretty happy with that. Can't say too much more on it though, as there is no real practical use to it. Aside from that, there is the bridge here, which just connects the base. It's a nice bridge, I think. Unfortunately, I did lose the clip where I built this, so there you go. Here's the bridge. You can see it from above. I did like the idea that I could look over the whole base, particularly with the ravine and the library over there. I wish at the time it wasn't built, but you can kind of see everything. We can see the furnace room going on there, and stuff over this side. You can kind of see into the pathway to the cave spider tunnel. And up here again, this was an area that didn't particularly get finished, so to speak, but there is one thing up here of note, and that is the horse stables. Back down there it just comes out to the snow golem. So over here is the horse stables, another recent addition. These were just a basic place to store my horses. I did go on a little mini quest and pick them up. Haven't played with the horses too much. This is a pretty fast horse. You have to open both gates, that's right. But I haven't used the horses too much, but I did want to have a place to store them. And we may get into horses more soon, but going to the nether and bringing a horse is asking for trouble. So we probably are going to leave this guy at home. But yeah, there's the horse stables. I think in the next update, instead of suffocating you, it will put you outside, which is pretty cool. I think they changed the way that works a little bit. So yeah, horse stables, got a nice little hay bale floor. I wanted to keep this room nice and bright. Got a little tree there to sort of break the room up. And I really like the wheat to hide lighting and stuff like that. You know, horses eat wheat. It sort of made the room look a bit more natural, and it's got some plants going and that kind of thing. One thing I would like to improve on in a future base is my ability to use decorative blocks. Things like this, flower pots, building little basic trees like that. But on the whole, I think I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. As a whole base in general. There is the armory here, nothing too significant. Just spits out a bunch of stuff to get you equipped for if you die, which I haven't in this world. So it was kind of useless, but it is there as a backup if I need it to get my stuff back. So that's pretty much that, in all honesty. That's the whole base as far as I can describe it. Sorry if it's not a real in-depth world tour. I just wanted to kind of revisit everything once. And now we come to the showpiece, the Fret Fort. So the Fret Fort is basically, it is what it is. It's a fort. Some people would call it a castle. I call it a fort because it's not as big as I would imagine a castle to be. But that may be just me though. So the fort has been a project that I always used to use as a kind of a fallback project to break episodes up, and I've always wanted to build a castle in the game. But on single player without recording, I never had the motivation or the desire to do so. It was a lot of work for no one to really see. So this was a nice project to kind of share my documentary of building it with you guys, and it was the best decision I think I've made as far as this base goes, is actually building this. It took a lot of time, as I say. It took around 3 months to kind of do the whole thing, from digging out the land to building the different towers, the walls, getting the homes in, and finally populating it. So it was sort of that big mega, I dubbed it the mega project, and we'll probably do more of these in the future. I think they're a lot of fun. They kind of break up the content. I do know that one thing I want to improve on is the fact that we've done nothing but building pretty much for the past, in this series, probably 3-4 months. I think I want to break up the content a little more, as towards the end of the fort I began to get really burnt out on it, but I'm glad I managed to pull myself together and finish it for you guys. So I think we'll probably do a lot of exploring and caving and things like that more in the future to kind of break up the building. And don't get me wrong, there will still be building because I enjoy it, but there's going to be a more mixed content and more variety, can repair that, than perhaps we had in the past with this series. Nothing too much to talk about here. It's just a, it is what it is. It is a fort. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I tried to kind of stick to a rough theme of, sort of medieval-ish, but I did want to add my own spin to it, hence the houses. Obviously that house I did get a lot of help with from my dear friend Hal, who you guys will know from many other series because we do record a lot together. But he helped me out with this house, so he got a named house, just because he helped me really build that and get me going with building. And he did help me on the boathouse as well. He's helped me a lot with different things, so I would suggest if you certainly need tips with building and things like that, then he's the guy to check out. There'll probably be something either in the description or on the video where you can go check him out, and hopefully he might be able to offer you some tips like he's done me, because he certainly knows a lot more about building than I do. Having said that, the fort itself, bar the boathouse and that one home, I built entirely sort of on my own. I've seen similar things in the past as to how these things can be built, but I did want to add a lot of my own spin onto it. For example, I came up with the defenses on my own, I built these towers on my own, and if you go back to when I first built these two, that up there looks horrible, and I really did work on it for an extended period of time, and that really tested my building skills. But ultimately I think it paid off. I really like the way the towers look, pretty much every tower, even the radio tower up there, which turned out a little weird in the end. But I did try and put as much as I could into building this and really test myself. That was another thing I could use to describe this. It was a project which tested my skills and kind of pushed me into an unknown environment, and sort of, it was something cool and new to kind of explore and enjoy and explore my ideas and creativity, and I would definitely do this again. Not necessarily build a fort again, but maybe get stuck into a mega project again, and I have a few ideas of things that I would like to do, but all of that will often depend on where I spawn in the world when I go far away in the nether. So that's kind of that, really. Aside from that, there is obviously the houses, which I kind of went with what was right. Sandstone and birch kind of made sense to me. Cobble and oak, and obviously Hal gave me obviously, as I've already said, a big input on that. So, on that house, that is, I came up with those two on my own. Aside from that, there is the lighting system with the daylight sensor, not too much to talk about there. And my little storage shack with various objects and things in it, but that was pretty cool. just to have a little dedicated area, because I remember, and anybody who's watched this series for the past couple of months will know that I always had, like right here I think, a crafting table and 4 furnaces and a chest, and it was there for the longest time. And then I built this staircase, and I thought, oh yeah, I could use the underside of that to kind of put my stuff in here. Bed, furnaces, crafting table, chest, and an ender chest. And that was kind of how some of this project went. It was just, oh yeah, I built that, now I could do this. And that was a lot of how I did things like lighting, and I built these 2 towers. This was here before. I used to have a sugarcane farm here before I built the one underground. And this was here before, and I thought, I could build a bay based on that and just kind of put like a portcullis over it. And I think it worked pretty well in the end. It took a while to get right, but definitely worth it, I would think. And I think as well, I thought there was a pond over here, so I thought I'll build a boathouse there. And the boathouse does work. It has boats, but they're pretty difficult to control. They're a lot easier to control in the next version. We probably won't play with them because I'm considering obviously time constraints in the next episode. But we may take a look before we go and just go for a little boat ride around the fort. But that's that, honestly. It is what it is, as I say. It was a lot of fun to build, and I'm glad it's complete now. My decisions as regards populating it, I did want to have some characters here to kind of fill it out a little bit. Got some pens of animals, and for some reason I always seem to remember that chickens ran free in things like forts and whatnot. So it made sense to have them here, kind of running free, even if they do drive me insane by filling my inventory with eggs. So, in a nutshell, that's the world tour. There's not actually too much here to say that we've been here for maybe over 70 episodes now. But before we end off today's episode, I do want to talk about a little bit my 500th video. So, I'm not going to get into how I started and all this, that, and the other. That's for another day. That's another topic entirely. But I do want to say that it's been an amazing journey. I've done over 500 videos by the time this goes live because I'm a bit behind. 500 videos, I honestly didn't believe. I know some people use this like every day, but I didn't believe that the response, even though some people would argue, well, you don't have thousands of subscribers. To me, that doesn't matter. The fact that I have a response, and there are people who regularly watch me, and I know who they are, so don't you worry, don't you quote-unquote fret about it. There are people who I know watch me regularly and really engage with the content and find it very interesting, no matter what series it is, whether it's this, my tutorials, server shows, PvP, all of that stuff. People engage with it. People like different things, of course, but I found that the response that I've gotten, and 400 and I believe at the moment my count goes 421 subscribers, almost approaching 500. It's been an amazing journey, and I hope it long continues because I am really enjoying recording. The updates have been interesting. There are things to work on my channel, of course. There are things that I need to work on and improve and get the quality even higher than what it already is, because there is always a step up that I can do. But I'm sure many people would perhaps agree with me. Over the 500 videos there has been a progression, and I'm sure that many people have enjoyed many hours watching me, and that for me is the key thing. I put out this to entertain people and to share my journey in this game, to share what I do and to share the way I play. And that's not to say that people have to copy me in any way. That's just to say that, hey, this is what I do, maybe I can give you some ideas and that kind of thing, and to really just share what I'm doing. Before I recorded, I didn't have a motivation to get stuck into any big projects. I would build small bases, but for example, the fort, I would have never built that if I had not been making videos, because I would have lost interest in it pretty rapidly, because no one was there to see it, no one was there to see it progress, and nobody would have been there to give me ideas. I mean, I probably could have spoke to people who I know that play the game, but that's a very limited sort of audience, really, and that could be kind of a hassle. So being able to experience the things I have through doing this has been great. I know that doing this YouTube thing has actually took me to insomnia. It's took me to being able to really communicate with people who really like my content on Twitter. It's took me to a server. It's took me so many amazing places that I didn't think I would get when I started out. Like, when I started out, I didn't think even remotely that I would get invited to any sort of server. And this has obviously happened now, and I think that I've benefited from the experience, and that's not just from joining the server, that's just from doing this thing, because before YouTube, and even now to a degree, I have always suffered with confidence-based problems. Never really had the confidence, for example, to really speak up, and I always was a quiet one, but being able to talk to you guys, even if it's indirectly on YouTube, has given me a lot of confidence to talk out loud and to really say things to people, and really help them out, and suggest things and so forth that I wouldn't have been able to do without YouTube and that sort of thing, because it's given me a lot of confidence. I will always remember the one thing that my dad said to me at Insomnia, and that was because we were stood around, as I've explained in my Insomnia video, and Slowpoke came past us, and if I'd not been doing YouTube, chances are I wouldn't have had the confidence to pluck up and say hey and shake his hand. But through YouTube I have gained a lot of confidence in myself now that I could do that, and I could, you know, put my hand out and say hey, good, nice to meet you, that kind of thing. So I am really, really thankful for that, and we're going to round the episode off here, I think, but I do want to give a big, big thank you to every single viewer, subscriber, those who interact with me on Twitter, all of my server friends, everybody who has supported me, who I know in real life, my family, that kind of thing. I want to give them a big, massive thank you. I wouldn't be doing this, I don't think, if the certainly if the content hadn't been as engaged as it has been. So a big, big thank you to all of you. I hope that this continues, and I hope that we are having a similar conversation to this at 1,000 videos, and maybe even with a bigger channel and a wider variety of content. And hopefully I will have, in that time as well, improved, because judging by how I sort of output videos, that is going to be almost probably 2 years away. So maybe closer to a year and a half, actually. So that's going to be an interesting journey. We're at 500 now. As far as this series goes, this series is going to be continuing long into the future. I have lots of plans that I want to do, lots of things that I have not even began to mess with in Minecraft yet, and that includes things like Redstone, the new update, possibly future updates, that kind of thing. There's a lot to do, and there's a lot that I'm really excited about, and there's going to be lots of opportunities in the future for growing the series and expanding it and getting your guys' input and feedback as you have been doing so far. So again, a big thank you to each of you who watched this video as well, those of you who have watched my content, those of you who have subscribed, liked, all of that fun stuff. I don't usually mention this stuff, but I think it's appropriate in a milestone like this to bring it up, so a big, big thank you for that. And I really do thank you for your time, because at the end of the day, I make a video, I put it out online, and somebody spends, you know, 30 minutes of their time. If you watch this whole video, it'll probably be around 30 minutes or maybe even more of your time actually sitting and watching that. And that for me is almost like, you know, hey, I made something and somebody will actually sit and watch it for an extended period of time, and people are interested in it, which is something that I find still to this very day fascinating. And that's in a good way. It's still not at all fascinating in a bad way. I think that it's been an amazing year and a half so far, and I hope that it long continues into the future. So I thank you all again for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Next episode, we will probably spend a bit of time just kind of wrapping things up here, getting my packages together, and we probably take a boat ride around the fort. We'll take a look at the giant map and that kind of thing before building a tunnel in the nether to new lands. And probably right at the end of the episode, we'll step through that portal and see where we end up. So hope you're looking forward to it, because I sure am, and I hope to see you then. So until then, guys, thanks for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed the world tour today, and until next time, see you later and have a good day. Hey, I'm back. One thing I forgot, which is probably the thing that you all watched this episode for. The world download will be available down below. I'm going to put out a world download for this episode, so hopefully in the future I'll release a world download more often. One thing and another's led to me not being able to put this out as much as I would like, but It's down there. You can grab it. I know people have wanted it from me for a long time, so you can experience this bass. Remember, it is for 164. It will work in 1.7, but just be nice with it, guys. So that really is it from me, guys. So see you later and have a good day.